Should we begin?
Yes.
Good morning to all of you. Hope you all are doing safe amidst COVID-19 and now Omicron variant. And it is quite ironic and also a little unfortunate that we are holding a webinar on women in leadership and Indian Army, and our speaker is also she served in Indian Army. And unfortunately, yesterday we had a tragic event in which we lost the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS Bipin Rawat, General Bipin Rawat. It's quite tragic and unfortunate. From Nirwan University and press our solitude to the family and also to the country. It's a great loss, and we all feel very sorry about it. So I'm Dr. Neha Lohamaror. I'm assistant professor at Nirwan University. I welcome you all to the national webinar on women in leadership roles, opportunities in Indian Army. It has been jointly organized by Indian Industrial Material Management, IIMM Jaipur and Nirwan University, Jaipur. Before we move forward, I would like to introduce IIMM Jaipur and Nirwan University, Jaipur. The university has set benchmark in higher education. It provides not only academic freedom to one to grow, but also creative freedom to innovate and ideate. Our university is one of the most coveted university in Rajasthan. It is located in the pink city of Rajasthan, that is Jaipur. Jaipur is known world over for its rich cultural heritage, which includes Katputli, a type of puppetry, Kalbelia folk dance, forts, museums, and others. The university offers environment conducive for bright minds from different academic fields such as law, engineering, management, media, social sciences, and many more. The university is committed to not only academic enrichment and quality research work, but also skill development, which is also the objective of Indian government under schemes such as Skill India and Make in India. Our Prime Minister talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat, a goal which Nirwan University is contributing to. Kindly now give me the opportunity to introduce our speaker of the day, Captain Amrit Kaur, retired. She served in Indian Army. Captain Amrit Kaur, I'm very happy to introduce her. She has worn many feathers to her hat. She became an officer with the prestigious Indian Army and did exceedingly well during her training at the OTA, which is Officers Training Academy, and was second runners-up. She served her country with utmost dedication and sincerity, for which she was awarded the GOC in Commendation Card Award, an established adventure enthusiast and a sports person. She is a trained mountaineer, having done her advanced mountaineering course from NIM Uttarkashi, and was also selected in the team of lady officers of Indian Army for Mount Everest expedition. She has the proud privilege of being a part of the first ever team of civilians to have successfully completed the expedition to Kumar Post at Siachen Glaciers in 2019, after the abrogation of the Article 370. She served the oldest corps of Indian Army, that is ASC, Army Services Corps, and was the only lady officer of her corps to have been selected for a prestigious Indo-UK joint exercise while she was serving in 2005 and fared very well. On January 26, 1998, she marched with the NCC National Cadet Corps contingent on Rajpath during Republic Day Parade as right marker. She was awarded the Best Cadet while in NCC. She got the C certificate. She was also awarded the Best National Service Scheme student in her college, Symbiosis College, for her dedicated social work in villages of Maharashtra and to bring about a difference in their lives. Even while at school, she was dedicated student and went on to become the school captain of her school and was part of scouts and guides and was involved in various community services. After having left the armed forces, she went on to pursue a professional course in art and won gold medal in that course. She is now an established painter and a visual artist. She also runs her art academy at home, where she even teaches art to children and adults and helps in developing artists for the future. She went on to become an art instructor with a renowned IB school at Gurgaon for a few years. She had a short stint with the corporate and defense sector. She later went on to establish herself as a consultant anchor with TV9 Bharatvarsh, a leading Hindi news channel, having conducted debates and discussions as being part of the team of first ever group of ex-officers of defense forces to do so. She covered a special story from Kargil on the 20th anniversary of OP Vijay. Currently, she is an established defense expert and has been a regular part of debates on various news channels on various agendas with special focus on women empowerment and women in defense forces. A mother of two beautiful kids, she is a hands-on mom and is balancing her work and home beautifully well. She's also active on various social media platforms and tries to speak her heart always. She wishes to continue to gain experience in various fields and keep adding to her list. It was great honor to introduce you, Captain Amrit. I would also like to introduce our panelist, Professor Ravi Goel, the chairman of IIMM and pro-president of Nirwan University. He is not present today. And we have Dr. Tanu Tandon, the Dean and Professor of Faculty of Education and the founder director of the Center for Women and Gender Studies at Nirwan University. And I would request Dr. Tanu to welcome Captain Amrit Kaur and begin the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Neha. Now, to live with the spirit and a never die attitude, this webinar has come on the day when the spirit of the Defense Force lingers on, as we have lost General Bipin Rawat, Chief of Defense Staff. The whole nation is condoling the tragic event, but as he said, and as all the defense people say, the life goes on, and we must always strive to serve the country and work for the cause. So on this somber note today, we are starting this webinar, but I think it's a divine thing, a divine intervention that even on this day we are doing on women in defense and army, wherein a captain of Indian Army is present here, which is a mark of the fact that whatever happened, life goes on and we always give our best. And we always stick to what the promises we have made, and we continue to do the things which we are supposed to do and serve the country and the community. So on behalf of Indian Institute of Material Management and Nirwan University, Jaipur, I heartily welcome the speaker, Captain Amrit Kaur, and also all the panelists, the moderator of the webinar, Dr. Neha, also Dr. Preeti, Dr. Nakuleshwar D'Souza, and Dr. Alok. Yes, this webinar is the brainchild of Professor Ravi Goel, Pro-President, Nirwan University, who has been the motivating force behind this webinar. To give you an overview, which Dr. Neha has already done, Indian Institute of Material Management deals with all the supply chain management and logistic supply chains, and it has more than 10,000 members and 52 chapters. Moving on to Nirwan University, Dr. Neha has already briefed about it. It's a state university which is run by Nirwan Charitable Trust and offers courses in various disciplines. And without taking more time, I welcome our speaker, Captain Amrit Kaur, and also all the webinar panelists, all the audience which are attached to us through social media. So please kindly take the stage and start.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I share the screen? First of all, I would like to start by paying my homage, and I deeply regret the loss of our CDS. Yesterday, it was a very unfortunate day. We all were glued to the television and social media to know the latest, and hope against hopes that we were hoping that probably General Bipin Rawat and others could have been saved. But as luck would have it, they couldn't survive. Only one person has survived. So my deepest homage, and I hope their soul rest in peace. With this note, I would like to start my today's presentation. First of all, thank you, Neha, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you, Dr. Tanu. So here is my presentation. Just a moment. Is it visible, Neha? Is it fine?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I would like to start with a very famous saying, which says, always do what you are afraid to do. Now, this is something which set my tone for my life, in a way, I should say, because I think most of us have these underlying fears in our lives, you know, right from our childhood, whether it's about taking your first steps to, you know, going to your school, to your college and onwards. Our journey is filled up with so many challenges, and the thing that actually overtakes us is the fear, whether or not we shall be able to accomplish, you know, a certain target, or whether we shall be able to do a certain thing in the way it is desired from us. So this is the thing which actually got me going, that always do what you're afraid to do. So the thing that actually is holding you back, the thing which is actually telling you not to go ahead, is the thing I believe you should take a step ahead and do. The reason being, courage, as we talk, is not the absence of fear. It is where the fear is imbibed in it. You know, it's along with the fear that we draw our courage to go ahead and do our, you know, the target that we have set for ourselves. And the life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage is what I really believe in. Because if you show the courage against your fears, definitely you will go out there and you'll be able to succeed. And, you know, even if you're not able to succeed at the level that has been desired of you, but at least inside of you, you have that satisfaction that at least you tried. So that is a very important thing according to me. So with this note, I would like to start my presentation. And I am a person who doesn't believe, you know, more into write-ups, etc. For me, pictures do a lot more than words, honestly, because that's what speak of you as a person. So I'm going to speak on three important aspects. One is women in the leadership role. The other would be the Indian Defense Forces, which is indeed a lifetime of opportunity. It is very rightly said that you might leave the Defense Forces, you might leave the army, but army never leaves you. It stays within. So even after I've left the Defense Forces, somewhere within me, it still remains alive. And very humbly, I would like to speak a little on my journey from my younger years to my today, at present, whatever I am up to just give you a glimpse of how army has really prepared me for life there onwards. So if you speak of women in leadership role, now let's start from the pages of history. Now, it is not a hidden fact that we've had some very, very famous and very, very, you know, courageous women in our country, starting from Maharani Lakshmi Bai to Maharani Jijabai, who raised another legendary Maharaja, you know, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Razia Sultan, the first ever Muslim ruler, Rajmata Ahilya Bai. So these are some of the most important and very, you know, famous women whom we draw courage from, whom we speak of. Maharani Lakshmi Bai is an epitome of courage, and on the name of whom there was also Lakshmi Bai Jhansi's, you know, a certain group was formed wherein the women, you know, were brought into the first ever uniform look. That was during the Independence Day, in Independence time. So if we talk of today, and if we talk of,
मैंने अपने माइक की इस आवाज को कम किया है तो क्या फेसबुक पे भी आवाज कम है क्या? हालांकि मेरे से तो होना नहीं चाहिए.
Alok, Mr. Alok, please mute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought something went wrong.
No, please continue. There was
all right.
just...
So from history, if we come to the today's current India, so to say, and how women are influencing world over, I would like to start with our first women president, Mrs. Pratibha Patil, who was, you know, somebody who really was very humble. And as we saw the way she conducted herself, it was amazing. Nobody would not know this lady Kiran Bedi. She was the first ever female IPS officer, and there onwards, how she has led her journey, I think it's not hidden to anybody. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the first Prime Minister of our country. If we talk about Indira Nui, who doesn't know her, the CEO of PepsiCo. This is the lady who is a missile woman. She's also called as a missile woman of our country, Tessie Thomas, and we saw how she conducted herself during the trials. Seema Rao, many of you might or might not know her, but I would like to tell you about her. She is the first ever women commando trainer. So the commando is, the training of commando is extremely, extremely difficult, which is basically a male domain. We look at it as a male domain, but this is a woman who trains men to become commando. So extremely powerful lady. Of course, Kalpana Chawla. And if we talk about the industry, Sushmita Sen, I draw a lot of courage from this woman because the way she talks, the way she conducts herself, amazing lady. And of course, sports, we have many, many more names, but I would like to talk of Sania Mirza. She really has, set the tone right for our sports women in our country. Now, the courage doesn't always roar, as they say. It need not be that it is really, going out of your, that you're really speaking loud about it. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day which says, I will try again tomorrow. And this is what it takes for all of us to say to yourself, if it did not happen in the first go, I will try again. So the more you try, it's like an ant story. The ant continues to, climb the wall, falls down, climb the wall, falls down. But at the end, it manages to, go straight on the wall and to its destination. So this is a very, very important aspect. Now, let's talk about the Indian Defense Forces per se. Now, why do I call it a lifetime of opportunity? Because, of course, after a certain while, the defense personnel do get retired. But, as in the words of now General Bipin Rawat, who left us yesterday, he had very famously said that don't look at defense forces as some kind of a job. It is not a job. It is not, you would say that, okay, I would like to become a defense forces personnel to just, because it is just another profession. I'm sorry, it is not a profession. It is a way of life. This defense forces prepare you for the future that is yet to come. It prepares you. It makes you a person who you never were. It makes you into a totally different human being. Now, in particular, if we talk about women in uniform, in the year 1992 was the first time women were inducted into the defense forces. And it was a very difficult journey for women in the initial few years because primarily it was a male domain. We only had the male, officers who had majorly taken over this profession, so to say. Although we had women serving in the medical corps and the rest, but in the mainstream, the women started getting inducted in the year 1992. And there onwards, there has been no stopping them. There has been, I could say sky has been not the limit for them. They have only broken, the glass ceilings one after the other, whether it was the Indian Navy, Indian Army, or Indian Air Force. Women have actually come forward and broken a lot of records wherein it has been the firsts for them. They've created history. Priya Jingan, this lady is the person who wrote a letter to the Chief of Army Staff saying that why women are not allowed in the Indian Army. And it was because of that letter that she wrote. I think today we have, the women officers serving in the Indian Army and other services. So she became the first ever lady cadet to have served. Now, this lady, very famously, most of you must have seen her pictures on internet, heard about her. She is Lieutenant General Punita Arora. She's the only lady officer who has donned the ranks in the Indian Army as well as Indian Navy. And she was conferred with the second highest rank of our country. Lieutenant Colonel Mithali Madhumita. I don't know if you're aware or not, erstwhile Afghanistan, you must have heard about a terrorist attack where this lady actually, saved the lives of many civilians out there, for which she's the first ever gallantry award winner in our defense forces. She is Dr. Major Suman. Now, she's the first ever Indian Army Major who has been honored with the UN award. It really, really is a very prestigious award for anybody who receives it while being in service. Lieutenant Colonel Sofia Qureshi, many of you must have heard her interviews at the time when she had led a contingent of international war game. Now, war game is a very strategical, very important military exercise, which is conducted world over. And she was the first ever woman to have led that, contingent. Now, she is the first ever lady Captain Divya Ajit Kumar. Now, there's something called the Sword of Honor. You must have heard of it. Now, Sword of Honor is given to the cadet in the academy who has overall performed the best. Now, ever since 1992, when the women were inducted, the service number of months used to be 6 months. Initial training was 6 months period. It was increased to 9 months, and as currently as we talk, it is a 1-year training period, now at par with what the gentlemen cadets pass out with. So initially the Sword of Honor was generally backed by gentlemen officers because they had a longer duration of training, and of course they had a more hands-on experience. But she became the first ever lady to have got this coveted award, which is called the Sword of Honor at the Officers Training Academy. Now, this smart lady with gray hair, Lieutenant General Madhuri Kalitka, I'm sure most of you all know her. She's the first ever Indian Army's women officer to have held a 3-star rank. A very, very, a motivated woman. And I think she has motivated many women to join the services. Squadron Leader Shekhawat is the only woman officer who has marched twice on the Republic Day. And this year, I'm sure most of you must have heard this name, Lieutenant Bhavna Kasturi. She led the contingent on the Republic Day parade, which was after 71 years, for the first time, a lady was leading a contingent of men, which was a big achievement for this lady. And of course, this lady has taken the eyes on herself, Captain Tanya Shergill. Most of you, I'm sure, must have heard of her. She became the first ever in history. She led the Army's men contingent on the Army Day parade. That happens on 15th of January, a very, very prestigious parade. And I had the opportunity of marching in it as an NCC cadet. So now this lady, Squadron Leader Deepika Mishra, we have an aerobatic team. You must have seen after the Republic Day parade, there is a fly past which happens, and there is a little aerobatic done by the Air Force. So she was the first ever lady to be a part of that IAF's Sarang. The name is Sarang. If we talk about Navy, now these ladies on the left you see are Indian Navy's first ever women pilot. Now being a pilot is a domain definitely was much awaited by women because they wanted to fly these helicopters and the aircrafts. So these women became the first ever to become the women pilot. Now, I don't know if you have heard about this, but the first ever circumnavigation of the world in a INSV Tarini, which is a naval ship. It's a vessel. In 2008, so it was an all-women team that took this vessel all across the world. They circumnavigated the world for 7 months all by themselves. So it was a history created by them. And very recently, we have the all-women crew, which has set sail for around the world voyage. Now, this is a very, very difficult, kind of a thing to do because you are all by yourself. You have been given a certain ration. You have been given a certain, telecommunication for a certain period of time. But to survive in those waters is not an easy task. It takes guts, it takes grit to be a part of such a sail. And these women, very proudly, they are the first ever naval aviators, who are on the warships. Now, warships, when I talk of the word warships, definitely I'm talking about Indian Navy's ships which go if at all a war breaks out. So definitely women being on warships was never imagined. But recently, of course, I would like to say General Bipin Rawat has a huge hand in, creating the defense forces that we have as of today. A lot of modernization, a lot of, technically sound, advanced, and weapon-wise, we have become very, very advanced. And this man had a huge role to play in it. God bless his soul. Now coming over to Air Force. Now, the first time I ever saw an Air Force, the thing which attracted me was Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise. So I saw him in this kind of uniform, taking that helmet on his side and walking smartly. And then, of course, after joining forces and meeting a few Air Force, fighter pilots, it was always men who were in this uniform. But now, as we talk, we have these 3 women fighter pilots who have been inducted in the Indian Air Force in 2016. But very few of you, these women are Avni Chaudhary, Bhavna Kant, and Mohana Singh. Now, you all must have recently heard of the movie Gunjan Saxena. Not all of you would be aware of this fact that although the women have been, officially inducted as a fighter pilot, but in the year 99, when the Kargil War was being fought, Lieutenant Gunjan Saxena, Flight Lieutenant Gunjan Saxena, and her other lady, these 2 were the first ones ever to go into a war zone. Now, why the reason? The reason they were there was, initially the women were not allowed to be a part of the war zones because of the weather conditions, and it involved an extreme mental pressure that was required, of them. So women were not considered. They used to think that they may not be able to sustain in that war-like scenario. But when the Kargil War started, the need was felt that all the pilots that are available, should be there, and because each of their services were needed at that hour. So Flight Lieutenant Gunjan Saxena and Flight Lieutenant Srividya Rajan, they were called for the duties, and it was no surprise that the men were able to just accept them immediately, because they were not, somebody who were looking different than what the male counterparts were doing. They were doing just their duty, flying their sorties, ensuring that they were evacuating the injured soldiers. And also we had a lot of martyrs who had become during the Kargil War. So these women had brought many of them back to the base, and they were also tasked with the medical evacuation, supply drops, and spotting of the enemy positions in the war zone. Now, this is a very, very technical job which is done by these helicopter pilots. So these women were brilliantly able to perform their duties, and that's how Gunjan Saxena has a movie on her as of today. Now, this lady, I'm sure when Barack Obama had come to India during one of the Republic Day parades, you must have seen Wing Commander Pooja Thakur. She led the Guard of Honor. Now, this is a very prestigious moment for any officer to lead the chief guest during one of the Guard of Honors. And of course, Air Force also has a women officer to have climbed the Mount Everest. The first ever women officer was Squadron Leader Nivedita Chaudhary. Now, these names which I've told you, I've just given a glimpse of the firsts and the leaders of the defense forces in women in Army, Navy, and Air Force. Now, this is the place where we belong, on top of the world. Women belong on top of the world. That is the kind of attitude we women need to have, It is just that it looks high, it looks at a certain height, and it scares us. It creates a fear in our mind that whether we would be able to or not. But you need to take that first step, and trust me, this is where we are going to lead ourselves to, top of the world. Now, this is a very latest development. Those of you who follow news, I'm sure you must have read about the landmark judgment. As we speak, just a day before yesterday, all the women of the Indian Army who were also remaining have been granted the permanent commission. Now, why is this so important? The permanent commission is a commission wherein you're allowed to serve for 20 years in the defense forces, and after 20 years you are sent, you can leave the services and get pension. It's a pensionable service after 20 years. For women officers, it was on trial. When it started in 1992, it was for the first time only 5 years were allowed, and it was like a trial period. Then they were given an extension of another 5 years to 10 years, and that went on. It became 14 years. But the women felt, that whatever job that they are doing, whatever task is being given to them, they are able to perform fine. And we had the Gallantry Award winners, as we just shared the picture of Lieutenant Colonel Mitali. We had so many commendation card winners. We had sports persons in the women officers. We had women holding positions of a very, very sensitive nature. and they were not found wanting. So the women actually appealed in the High Court. 2010, they won at the High Court, but somehow the case went on in the Supreme Court. But finally, we have seen the light of the day in 2021 as we sit here. All the women officers from now onwards will be granted permanent commission after 20 years of service. It's a huge, huge day for all the women officers who are serving, because, you know, to serve in army, like I said, it is not a job. It is a way of life that you lead while being in the army. And it's a privilege to be wearing the uniform, you know, because number one, you wear the stars on your shoulders. Number two, you are given a salute for the stars, not for you. The stars receive the salute. Number three, most important, when you leave the defense forces, your rank stays with you. Today, I am Captain Amrit Kaur, in bracket, retired. So this is a privilege given to the Defense Forces personnel to have that rank with you always, which reminds you of the service that you have given, and to remind you that, you know, that you need to, that army is with you all the time. And it gives you courage. It gives you inspiration to do more and more better in life. Now, these women that I spoke of, they have created history, and they definitely are an inspiration to the women, not just in our country, but world over. Now, most of them come from small towns. Let's not, you know, deny the fact that, yes, like I'm a second generation officer. My father was in the army. My sister went on and joined the army. So for me, the inspiration lied back at home. So the support of the parents, support of your family members definitely means a lot. But that doesn't mean that if you do not have that support, you do not, you know, try your luck at being a defense forces personnel. You have to be able to convince your people. You have to be able to show that kind of a junoon within, that I want to wear the uniform. So these women, most of them have come from the small towns, and not just their families, the entire nation is proud of them. Now, this is a small little aspect of the percentage that we have. Now, this bothers me a bit sometimes, because the percentage of Indian Air Force women officers and Navy and Army is very meager at this moment. One of the major factors was because the permanent commission was not in place, and the certainty of future for women was not always around, because, you know, when you know you have to give your youth for first 5 years, 10 years, what next? Then you have to look for a second job profile. Now we are very sure that women can serve as a permanent commission officer. They'll have a pensionable service, and the respect and privileges that come along with it are immense. So I'm very positive that with the kind of achievements that the women are taking each day, and of course with the PC and the pension that has come into being, the numbers are definitely going to improve. And as we talk, this year, the ladies have taken the test for National Defense Academy this year, and a huge number, 1.7 lakh, you know, girls have come out to write the entrance exam. That shows the, you know, that from within how much we are just wanting to go out there and get into that domain and, you know, do our best. So definitely NDA has opened the doors to the girls, the military schools at the school level. Now, I joined NCC after leaving my school, and I was in Scouts and Guides before that. But I always wanted to do NCC because NCC is a, you can say, a youth wing of the defense forces. You have Army, Navy, and Air Force in a smaller version, but you're taught most of what happens in the Army at a smaller level. So you understand how Forge functions, and it really motivates you. Second important thing, after NCC, if you're a C certificate holder, you get a direct entry to the SSB. You don't have to write the CDS exam, which is a privilege given to the C certificate you holders. I'm a C certificate holder. I didn't have to write my entrance exam. I was directly called to the SSB, which was a huge thing for me. Now, RIMC is a Rashtriya Indian Military College, you know, which also was a male domain. Military school was always for boys, but now you will see girls and women going into these colleges and schools and, you know, walking shoulder to shoulder with men. Now, as they say, sky is not the limit anymore in any field, as you can talk. Now, with a very humble, you know, beginning to my journey, I initially had this fear, like I was talking of in the beginning, the courage and the fear. I also was a part of it. I had these fears in my mind, especially if you're going on stage about to talk something, participating in a competition, or being able to go out there on the stage and talk something. I used to have these butterflies in my tummy all the while. My father, who was in the army, has been a greatest motivating factor, and of course my mother too. So they used to always tell me that if you're fearful, just go and participate. If you're feeling scared of it, at least go out there and try and perform. It will, आपका जो हिचक होती है अंदर से, it will remove that from your life. So the first ever achievement for me in school was becoming the school captain of the school. I participated and there were many contenders, and I was not too sure if I would be able to make it, but I went out there, I participated, whatever the competitions were held, I took part in all of them. And wearing this sachet of a captain, school captain, was the biggest privilege for me. After leaving school, I was sure I had to do NCC. My parents again were a big support. They said, fine, go ahead, take NCC step. I went into NCC, and I think I was able to, get that fear one day at a time out of my mind. And I led one of the Republic Day, parades in the local, area for the police commissioner. So one day as it came, if you take one day as it comes, and if you allow yourself to let the fears remain within you, but let the courage take over fear from there, I think you are able to, achieve what you want. Now, for me as an NCC cadet, the biggest achievement for any NCC cadet is being a part of the Republic Day parade and a Republic Day camp, which happens for a month in Delhi every year. So I got the opportunity, and for me, the biggest privilege I would call being an NCC cadet was marching on the Rajpath in the Republic Day parade in the year 1998. And now this is what I understood from my little achievements till then, that look fear in its eyes. The moment of fear is attacking you, do not run away. Let that fear be there, look into its eyes and learn to face it. And when you do that, you are meant for bigger things in life. Now, mountaineering, like I said, I had fears. I did have a fear of heights. I used to always have the fears of going on heights. So I thought, why not try my hand at mountaineering? So I, of course, went to the NIM, the Nehru Institute of Mountaineering. I did my basic course, I did my advanced course, and I don't know how the fear just vanished. Because why? Because I heard my fears. They say, hear your fear. Don't run away from your fears. Hear them. Let them talk to you. Let the fear talk to you. Because when the fear is talking to you, you get to know from inside, how can you face it? You get the ideas, you get the courage from within, that how am I supposed to face my fears? And trust me, you're able to overpower this fear, because life gives you what you have the courage to ask for. Because see, we have opportunities lying in front of them in plenty. The thing is that as we grow older, most of us, are asked, kya banna hai bade hoke? So we kind of, fix our mind into one direction, ki mujhe ye karna hai. Which is a very good thing. Yes, many people go ahead and continue in the same research work and etc. And you go into a very far-flung area in the same field, which is amazing. But I also believe that along with that, opportunities are lying next to you in plenty. It is just about opening your doors to those opportunities. So the reason being, it's already yours. Now, why I say this is, I believe in the power of secret, in the power of law of attraction. You attract to your life what you believe the most in. If you believe that you will be able to do it, nothing bothers you. If you believe I will not be able to do it, trust me, you will not be able to do it. So what you are asking in the positive, in the present, is yours. Whether it is the good or the bad, you have attracted that into your life. And I really believe in this. Now, this is when I joined the academy, because after having cleared my NCC with the C certificate, and of course my father being in the army, and I was so damn motivated, my sister joined the army, it became more of a motivation for me. I went for my SSB, and the first SSB that I went for, I cleared my test, I cleared my medicals, but I didn't make it to the merit list. But When I came back home, I told my father that probably Fauj is not meant for me, Dad, because, you know, I didn't make it after having cleared my medicals. So my father said, listen, beta, go next for the SSB, but just go as if you're going for a picnic. Do not go with that mindset that I have to get into it and I have to make it. He said, go make friends, have fun, try to remember these 5 days of your training, the interview as the best parts of your life. And trust me, those 5 days are etched in my mind. I enjoyed those 5 days, gave my best, but made friends for life. And then, of course, I was having the opportunity. I joined the Officers Training Academy. These are a few of the pics of my training days, those 6 months of training, because at the time when I had joined in 2002, the training period was 6 months. So these pictures that you see, till date, we all have our reunions, we meet, we have fun, and we stand with each other in all thick and thins. And this is the most precious pictures of my life. This is my family, as you see. I call it the Papa Kehte Hain Bada Naam Karegi moment, because although, you know, they had this in the back of their mind that they want, every parent want their child to do well in their life. But some parents tend to, you know, force it on them. Some parents just stand and watch, let them, you know, grow. So I've been very blessed. I have a very supportive family. They have always stood behind me, given me the support to whatever I want to do. And I was able to don the stars on my shoulders. My parents were there to give me on the pepping ceremony. My sisters, on the right, you can see my father standing with my sister and self. So this is a very, very cherished moment of my life. And this is in action after having joined the army. I was the only lady in my unit. We were around 800 men in the unit. So it's like, you know, all eyes looking at you. The first time ever I stepped into the army in my unit, Operation Parakram was going on. And the uniform and the entire unit was plonked in Rajasthan. So we were directly sent to Rajasthan, where the unit was plonked, preparing for the war scenario. So, you know, all tent and that life which you imagine, Fauji living in a tent and the sand dunes and all that. It was a very good experience, you know, just out there. But being a part of exercise Operation Parakram, I think set the tone right for me, because I got the right subalterns, training on the ground, running with your men, evening time, you know, taking them for games, and the entire day is planned accordingly. So it was a very, very extremely wonderful time that I had. I served for 5 years. These are the proud moments of those short period of my life in the army. I won the Commendation Card Award for the operations that I have done along with my counterparts. And I had the proud privilege of being a part of the Indo-UK exercise Emerald Mercury. I was the only woman from my area to be a part of it. So a very proud moment indeed. On the right, I'm sitting in a tent in the Operation Parakram time. That was my office then. On the left, of course, when you're in the peacetime, back to unit. So I call it my den. It is, you know, it sounds very nice to say sitting in my den. So yeah. Now, this is the whole, I would say, the days that break you are the days that make you. Because unless you go through the breaking time, and unless you take those, the moments which are suppressing you, the fears that are holding you back, that is the time which actually is building you. If you are having the courage to try and overpower the fear, if you let the fears suppress you, trust me, you will not be able to really, you know, come out as you are. Each one of us have been given a gift by God. Each one of us have this kind of a opportunity lying in front of us to go out there and just do what you love doing. And we shouldn't be doing something to show to others. We should be doing it to, feel happy with it. Do something which makes you happy. And for me, starting my journey from the school to joining NCC, becoming a cadet in the academy, and getting pipped by my parents, and finally joining army was a great journey. But that did not end my journey. You know, it's like that was not the final destination of my life. I joined army, I served, I gave my best, and then there was time to call quits. I left army, and then I thought, now what? So this came to my rescue. Not all who wander are lost. So when you're stuck, you should take a little stroll. Who knows, you might even bump into your next adventure. So that's the time when you're thinking, now I think I'm done with my life. that is when, you know, you realize that no, not at all. There's much more lying ahead, you know. So calling myself a retired person at the age of 28 was a big thing, you know. People would laugh and I would say I'm retired from the Indian Army, because normally you have veterans retiring at the age of 60. But I joined the Indian Army at the age of 22. So after having served for 5 years and 1 year of training, I retired at the age of 28. So I was like, now what? One thing which always was with me was my passion of art. Now, art has always given me a kind of an escape whenever I'm stressed, whenever I'm tensed. So this art has always, you know, given me a moment to just be in the corner, with myself, because creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Now, creativity does not only mean art. Creativity can be in any field. But for me in particular, art is knowing which ones to keep. So while you're painting something, sometimes you tend to make a lot of mistakes, but sometimes those mistakes look so beautiful, you want them to remain just that, you know, like that. You don't want to change it. And so I joined an institute over here in Gurgaon. I did my this thing. I went there out of passion. I didn't go there with the aim of pursuing it further. I wanted to learn it, because when I had a passion, I thought, why not learn it properly and try and experience it. So when I did that, I got a gold medal in my academy. These are few of my works that I have been, you know, so I've been selling my work, and I don't have any website. It's on a very personal basis. I get orders, and it's always a privilege creating an art piece for people. Whenever they approach me, they come with a certain idea. Like I said, you know, it allows you to create those mistakes, and I let them be, and I cherish those mistakes. And these are some of my latest artworks. And after having, you know, when you get something, you want to give it back. Sometimes you feel that, you know, mujhe itna mil raha hai, what main kaise submitu usko, you know, you want to give it back. So that's when I decided to, you know, start my academy. I have named it Art from Heart, and I literally mean what I'm saying, because for me, art comes from heart. It is not about, you know, trying to copy from somewhere, or it always comes from within. And art is something you cannot force on anybody. You need to let it come from heart. It's like music. It has to come from within. So these are few of my students at work, and a little work to just show what my students have been doing. Thanks to COVID, the academy had to take a pause. Hopefully I shall be starting very soon. Now, art was definitely something which kept me going, but there are so many possibilities, like I said, in front of you. All you have to do is see them. We have to open our eyes to the opportunities lying around us, you know, because that is when you bump into your next adventure, like I said. So after my art thing, I realized that every moment in life and every opportunity is a choice to innovate and have an impact. Now, you don't want to do something in life to impress somebody, or you know, to try to inspire somebody. No, but in the journey, if you're able to do that to at least one person in life, I think you feel great about it, that I've been able to inspire this one person in my life. To me right now, like my children are growing up. I have a daughter who's 12 years and I have a son who's 8. So if I'm able to just leave that little impression of, you know, that courage and that being adventurous in life, being happy. So I think I have done my, you know, task well. So like I was moving on my journey, I got the opportunity. I got a call from a channel which was newly getting launched, TV9 Bharatvarsh, if you all have heard of it. And they were trying to, you know, have a set of retired officers as the consultant anchors with them. So I just grabbed on the opportunity, not because, you know, I wanted to get into a showbiz. It was just a new thing which was coming in front of me, and I had to just experience that moment. But having gone into it, I realized that I enjoyed it, you know, just being out there, talking to people, meeting new people, and discussing topics which are very important to our nation. And over the period of time, I have realized the thing which really keeps me more motivated is a women empowerment. This permanent commission that I was talking of, I have been very closely associated with the women officers who are fighting at the courts, and I've tried taking their point to the media and also discuss it on the media. Now, all along this way, Kargil celebrated its 20th anniversary very recently, While being with TV9 Bharatvarsh, I got an opportunity to go to Kargil to cover the story from ground zero. So on the left picture, you can see this is Tiger Hill right behind me. I had the opportunity to go very up and close to Tiger Hills. I went to Tololing and Batra Top, and we covered the story of the heroes right from there. And that feeling is unexplainable. I cannot explain that feeling that was. I felt they were around me, talking to me, and meeting the soldiers and, doing their work in those sub-zero temperatures. It inspires you like how. So now I'm also a defense expert. I try and take part in various discussions, especially around the women empowerment, about women in the army, in the defense forces, because see, a lot has been achieved by women, but I feel a lot is yet to be achieved. A lot more the women deserve while being in the army. So my little effort of going out there and sounding what is in their minds, I think I'm able to do my job of letting everyone know what is required by them. So yes, I have been very keeping myself busy with this of late. Now I'm sorry, just hold on. So you are your only limit. Now, while in the journey of my life, I realized that why limit yourself to a certain thing? Sometimes we think that, okay, I've achieved a certain thing in my life, that's a pinnacle of my life, and we feel that, okay, we are there, and I think I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. But I believe it's one life. God has given you this one life, not just to just experience one or two things. I mean, there is plenty of things that you can just go out there, adventure and experience, because you are your only limit. The moment you limit yourself that iske baad ab main kuch nahi kar sakti, so you actually are going to sit over there because aap kuch kar hi nahi paoge. To move ahead, you have to let that open within. You have to break out. You have to let yourself out of that shell and go out there and experience. Now, while I was in the army, we had the opportunity, I was selected for a team going to Siachen glaciers as a defense force personnel, but due to the ongoing strategic reasons and the various situations that were, existing at Siachen, the trip got cancelled. So it always remained within me that, selection hua, but nahi ja paaye. But then, as they say, the life comes a full circle. Because if you, like I said, if you remember a slide I had shown you, it is already yours. Because that always remained within me that I have to go to those heights. I have to see Siachen Glacier. And these pictures are of that very place at Siachen Glacier. The left bottom picture, my pointing finger, I'm at the northmost point of our country, the Siachen Glacier. I'm at Kumar Post. And we became the first ever civilians to have trekked to that height. It is the highest battleground in the world. And I had the proud privilege of being a part of the team of 7 who actually did that. Now, the only person who needs to understand your vision is you. The reason I put that picture out there with the camera is because when you are taking a picture with the camera, it is your focus, it is your view from the camera that you are capturing. Nobody else would know what you're capturing. It is your eye, your view, and your focus. So in your life, this is how we need to be. The life is like a camera, you need to know what your vision is for yourself, because the only person who can see that vision is you. Let not the others, let not the people around you define what you are meant for. The big things, the small things, whatever you want to do in life, let your inner self, guide you through it. And for that, you have to break free. You have to break free from what? Break free from those things which are holding you back from, going out and doing. If you want to go and do a certain adventure, go out there and do it. You want to try a certain profession because you wanted to do it, but you have your fears. There is no harm trying it. Unless you risk it, unless you take that step, unless you move out there on that particular road, you will never know if that was meant for you or not. Failures are a part of life. You might fail, you might succeed. If you fail, take a learning from that failure. Move ahead. If you succeed, keep yourself grounded and keep moving in that direction. But you have to break free. You have to break free from that fear, from that inhibitions within you. And of course, in the end, be grateful. Whatever you're getting in your life, whatever achievements you're having in your life, that is not yours. That is, probably given to you by the Almighty. If you believe in the power of Almighty, I believe it in it 100%. I'm very grateful to the life that I have. Recently, I had a very major medical, emergency. I was in the hospital. The hair that you see has gone because of that only. But I realized that, if you have the willpower within, I knew I want to live. I would have kind of probably never returned home. But the willpower within, the being grateful to God for each second that I was breathing, I think that led me to live a life beyond, because I have to live my life for my children, with my husband, with my family, and I'm extremely grateful because, and having that attitude of gratitude is what I've learned over the period of time. You don't have to be really somebody sitting in the mandir and masjid and doing puja. For me, it's all about folding my hands and thanking God for what I have as of today. That is the puja for me. So that is called having an attitude of gratitude. And in the end, I only would like to say to all the women listening to me that don't let your inhibitions hold you, break out of those inhibitions, and to join a defense forces as an army officer, as a navy officer, or an air force officer is a privilege that you will get. So you all must definitely give that interview, try and give the CDS exam interview, motivate the girls along with you, and as girls, be one, hold each other together. Let's not forget that a one woman pulling the other woman up becomes 1 and 1 is 11. It is not true. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. I thank you for this opportunity, and glad to be with you all.
Thank you so much, Captain Amrit. What an amazing presentation at so many levels. It has at least had an impact on me, not only your children, I guess you have impacted another life, and that's me. It was so amazing to have interacted with you. I mean, as you said, why limit ourselves? I mean, who can be better example as you? I mean, you started as a soldier, you went on to become an artist, a journalist, a mountaineer, and now an advocate of women empowerment. It's such a privilege of IIMM and Nirwan University to have a speaker such as you, and also for the audience to seek, so much of inspiration by a live example that we have in front of us. I mean, the first sentence that I introduced you was many feathers to your hat. And now, towards the end of the presentation, it makes more sense to me why that was so important. And this year has been so phenomenal for women in the defense, especially army, having permanent commission and women getting entry into NDA for the first time. And this year, Nirwan introduced the Center for Women Studies. It is all a very good coincidence, I would say. And in your presentation, you introduced women in defense. That is from the Army, Air Force, Navy, with such accolades. I mean, it was so inspiring. It's sad that I didn't know all of them. So I keep a tab on the current affairs and newspapers, and that clip that you showed of the civilians trekking, Siachen for the first time. I had read that newspaper. I didn't know you were part of the history. Congratulations for that. But talking about other women doing so well, so many accolades. I mean, it's a little sad that we're not aware about all of them when we should be, because they are the women who have created history and also led a path for us to walk on that with so much less, challenges. You said that when you joined army, you faced so many challenges, and I'm sure when you are carving a path, everyone does face challenges. Thereafter, it becomes easier for people to follow the path and walk on that. But initially, yes, there are challenges, as you talked about male dominance and gave us statistics of army having only 3% of women and navy 6 and air force 13. I mean, it's still, we are in 21st century. It is little sad, but as you said, do draw your own limits, and so it be. If that's me, then let's just join together and carve a path where we increase the static, to more number, and we have more parity. And you talked about, these are few things I want to list, and in short to talk about. And you said about, being on top of the world, the attitude. And I so much agree that it is actually attitude that defines everything. What stopped army from inducting women in 1947? It was the attitude. What really led them to induct women in 1992 was the attitude, change in attitude. Even like the Air Force, you mentioned that in probably 2016, they had the first fighter pilots in Air Force, women. And but army still doesn't have women in combat roles. So what is really stopping is attitude. So you so right when you talk about fear and courage, fighting them. We all have certain fears, and that is what is stopping the humanity to progress. And from not letting the 50% of the population, which is women, to not come together with men and walk together. I feel today so much of progress has been made when women are not completely part of every sphere of life, be it defense services, be it even, science and tech, engineering, mathematics, name a thing, we are still to become equal part and participate equally. I wonder when we equally participate, what world would it be? I just hope that the change that has taken 75 years, at least for our country, I just hope that we really reduce this time period of 75 years to 5 years or 10 years and remove our fears, get more courageous, and allow women to participate equally. Thank you so much for your such a lovely, inspirational presentation. Now, on behalf of IIMM and Nirwan University, I would like to take this opportunity to conclude the session with a vote of thanks. I would like to express my gratitude to Pro-President Professor Goel, to Tanu, who is retired Center of Women and Gender Studies, and all other panelists. My sincere thanks to Nirwan team for organizing such a successful and a beautiful national seminar. Thanks to the audience for connecting with IIMM and Nirwan University live on Facebook and YouTube. Hope you all will stay connected like this even in future for such more interactive sessions. Last but not the least, Captain Amrit, thank you so much for spreading your optimism, blessing your wisdom, and sharing your experiences with us all here. I'm
Privilege
sure
is all mine, Neha. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Tanu and the entire team for allowing me to be able to talk about myself.
I would like to invite even Dr. Tanu. She always has pearls of wisdom to give us, always. I'm sure even now she would like to speak and contribute and also share her opinion about the session. Dr. Tanu, would you like to?
Thank you, Neha and Captain Amrit. Thank you. We need more role models like you. So that's a good
Like
thing
you
for the
also.
women out there to learn from you, to take inspiration from you and move ahead. And as you said, sky is the limit, even beyond that, for women. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much to everybody.
Okay, we end the session here. Thank you.